Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me now? I just reset the headset. Let me know if you guys can hear me. It's working? Good. I guess it didn't want to it didn't want to get off the weekend either. All right, let me redo that then. Good morning, everyone. Hope you all had a good fourth. Oh boy. So overnight inventory is short, and we did have a corrective move up, but we did not have enough time spent over this red line, which is 63.06, to move the point of control higher. So, Howard, we didn't get as much distribution as we'd like to. So we're right back now on the cost basis of the overnight. I'm looking at the overnight low. Okay? The bid is here. Okay, the bid is underneath 62.89. That's where the gap is. So even though we had a correction upwards, knowing that they sold into it, I have a feeling that we're going to come into the gap today. Now, the only reason I have this feeling, and it's just that I used to paint the tape all the time, eh? Especially on a long weekend, month end, quarter end. I used to always, my clients would tell me, and it was like, it was an unsaid thing because you can't tell your trader to mark up a market. That's manipulation. But anyone who has clients who have deals, they will try and mark up those stocks before a long weekend to keep the investors happy. That's just life. That's common sense, right? If you have happy investors, they're going to pay more, they're going to come back and they're going to buy more stock, right? So the human desire to mark markets up is very strong, especially before the fourth. That's happened now. Does the buying that we had last week and after during the end of the quarter, all that short covering, is that enough to hold the market up now this week? I have a feeling. Now, that feeling has to be it has to be backed up by facts. So, first fact is, can we get under 6,300 before the open? Right? We have a whole half hour to get under 6,300. That's number one. Number two, if we do, look for Thursday's low and the overnight low to get transacted at. And if we do get into the gap, how much of it fills? Right? So that's what I'm thinking. Had we had the usual buying, we would have been up and we would have at least tagged the close on that inventory correction. We didn't. Now, why didn't we get up there? Because the wholesalers who are long here realized that the buyers are only willing to pay this much for so long. They're going to get rid of that inventory and then sell it back down to cost basis. That's how markets work. Sure, you'd love to sell it up here if you're long here. But if nobody wants to buy it up here, you got to sell it where you can for profit, right? Little common sense. Little common sense. So I'm looking for lower, even though overnight inventory is still 100% short. So let's see if that hunch I have is right. That's number one. That's number one scenario is lower. The second scenario is that we just go sideways for a little bit more time before we do this. And of course, the third scenario is sideways and then up. Right? So that's what I'm kind of looking at. I'm not seeing an immediate up scenario, but I could be wrong. That's the one. That's sort of the fourth behind door number 4. Let's see what happens when we open, right? All I know is it's going to be a little slower than it usually is, right? Not as many participants around, people still on holidays. Take it slow. Just trade the chart. Don't make too big of a deal about it, right? And don't overtrade. Okay? Don't overtrade. Right? Don't get stuck in bad trades. Right? It's really the beginning of the month now, beginning of the week. All the drama is over now, holidays and end of quarter and all of that stuff. So now we can get to work. All we need now is some more people to come back to the office and we can get to work. See, the overnight clock did move up, just up here. And now we're underneath it. Yeah, everything outside your playbook is overtrading. Exactly. Right? You have to have a business reason for taking the trade. If you don't have a business reason to take the trade, don't take the trade. And I know for newer traders who don't understand how the business works, it feels like you're not doing anything. It feels like you're sitting there and it feels like you haven't made any money and it feels like you're not doing any work. Capital preservation is a job, right? Preserving your capital is actually a job. Don't take it lightly. Yeah. So only commit when your business setup presents itself. So when the way you do business presents itself, then execute ruthlessly. If the way you do business does not present itself, there's no reason for you to be executing. Hey, Espil. Sorry I missed your message last night. I was already crashed out when you messaged me. A few things to note when you're watching these markets, right? Like say you were shorting and you saw sellers coming in, you can short as long as that seller is pushing the market down, the sellers, I should say. This kind of be very wary of these like little barcode tight candle patterns. They're just indicating that there's not much business to be done here. You see it here and here. You could just sit in a trade for a very long time. Right. Hey Johnny, how you doing? Good to see you. How's life in paradise? Yeah, here it's pretty nice in the Philippines. You're our guy in the South Pacific, that's for sure. Let me see. Just go make sure I've got all the stops marked. There's a stop here. So we're going to basically open inside the previous day's range. And now I talk about the previous day, you notice that I'm talking about Thursday because the way I've been taught from the market profile guys is we use the last full trading day before the holiday as our references. So that would be Thursday. So if we open down in this area here, Just kind of expect it to chop around. What's up, AZS? How you doing? You know what? You're right, Mars. Thursday was an early close, wasn't it? Huh. See, I got weekend brain, and nobody corrected me this morning. Man, you guys were just as asleep at the switch as I was. The last full trading day was actually Wednesday, because Thursday was an early close. Friday, well, the markets were closed. Thanks, Mars, for pointing that out. Man, you guys in the room, I don't know what's going on over there. I think everybody had a little too much potato salad, and your brains are all a little mayonnaisey like me. Nice one, Mars. Nice one. It's 6 a.m. uh, that's funny. I'm definitely, I'm very short biased. Very short biased. I think, I think we're gonna go test the poor low. What's up, Hank? How's your wife doing, man? It's like Hank's gonna be a dad like any minute now. So don't waste too much time with us. Hey, Etienne, ça va? So I'm short biased, but luckily I have my chart to tell me if my bias is wrong. So if I was shorting in this area, right? I don't like shorting the lows of a market. But if I was short and the market started to get over VWAP, I'd start closing my short. If you're a big spender, the next area is 6304, right? And the next area is 6 and then 7. So if you're shorting this area here, because some people will initiate a short if the market's under VWAP. If you lose your seller at VWAP, you know what to do, right? If you're short here, that's fine. But if you lose that VWAP seller, govern yourselves accordingly, right? As the Penguin would say, right? This seller is your backup. The sellers are competing there. Every time we get there, they push price down. So it's okay to be short, right? But if we lose that 6302 seller, your only hope is 4, because that's where they sold into it before, right? Ça va? Okay, that's good. And we have a poor low. It's not a double bottom, but it is a poor low. It's one tick of excess. So it came down here, Johnny, and it bid and it bid and it bid. We left that poor low, and then we had the inventory correction upwards. But I don't know. There's a lot of shorts in this market. They've been built up over a while. That's why we don't get a beautiful, nice sell-off. It sells and then it sticks. Like this is short covering right here. Right? Anybody tells you any different, all of this buying here, this is all short covering. Right? Nobody's going to be buying this to put a position together. Right? Just arbitrarily at that price. Right? And people don't defend price. How you defend price is you stop selling. But there are shorts and they're bid under 6,300 right now. So if we break 6,300, I'll be looking for 6,295 as an area where I do a little covering, right? But it's going back and forth, and that'll drive you crazy, right? This is where you'd build a short position, and your out would be VWAP. My London session was only about 40 minutes. It was slow. It was painfully slow, right? So if you're short, say 63.01, 63, right? If it starts getting over 2.5, 3, see the seller's still there, right? Every time we get close to VWAP, they come and knock it down, and that's what you want. And if you're a short seller, you want an aggressive seller. Right now, the seller's not that aggressive, right? It's just boxed right here. It's just rotating, right? Back and forth, back and forth. But every time we get close to VWAP, you notice it can't even get there. They're front running and selling it down. If that continues, we should take out these lows. But if we crawl back over VWAP and you're short, watch your whiskers, okay? Now look at the top of this candle. Let's see if it can stay under 63.01. I'll make them a bit bigger here. See how the market, when it gets down here, it just kind of stalls? That's because there are buy orders here. There are bids here. And the market comes into those bids, it won't fill them, and then it'll lift to see if those buyers will chase price higher. Now watch this candle and see if it takes out the top of that one. We want those sellers to move lower and lower and lower. It's really slow. You can see it. It really nice detail. Right? There, you see the offer moving lower? That's what you want when you're short. It's not moving lower aggressively, but come on. Now, if it takes out this low, it'll a bunch of little traders will get stopped out. If it can't take out that low, it'll rotate back to that white line. See? Right there. See? That's rotation. There we go. Took a few little stops, but the buyers came in, right? The buyers came in. So if you were short 63.01, put some bids out just in case. Because if you can't get a cover, the market could have bit of a move higher. So my VWAP is anchored to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Not sure where yours would be anchored, James. There we go. It's like trying to break open a coconut. There we go. So there, if you were short, 63.01, you had initiated a short under VWAP. You'd be putting bids in to see if you can get a cover, right? The primary bid is that 62.99. Now, watch this candle in the next one. If they get back up to that white line, be careful, okay? That'll be like a warning sign. The market will give you warning signs when your trade or what you're thinking is going to happen. When that stops or shows signs that it's not going to happen, the market will give you signs. All you have to do is pay attention, right? But when we're trading, we don't really pay attention. We're just really worried about whether the trade's going to make money or not, right? And you don't want to lose money and you don't want to, all that nonsense, right? But if you pay attention, the market will tell you if the trade's going to work or not. Which one? At 62.96? Oh, that's a standard deviation from VWAP, Anne-Marie. That's the first standard deviation. I usually take them off, and I just usually mark VWAP with the purple, just to keep the amount of noise down on my chart. But these are just standard deviations. What did I tell you? Did you see that? I said if the market can't stay under that white line, we lost our seller at 6,300 and 3/4. So when we lost that seller, right back to VWAP. So if you were not, say you were short 63.01 and you didn't cover, you didn't have any bids down here, right? If you were short up here and you didn't have any buy orders here, you wouldn't know that it's running out of supply, right? And if you're not paying attention, look at the bottom of that candle and the bottom of that candle, right? And you're right back there. You're going to get stopped out. My pleasure, Anne-Marie. You guys, you got to pay attention. Watch a 1-minute chart and hone your skills. I promise you it'll pay off. But people always say a 1-minute chart doesn't work for me. I need to hold trades longer. And I go, how's that working out for you? Well, I blew up 4 evaluation accounts. It's not working out for you. Give it a shot, right? Give it a shot. And have the discipline to spend time watching something, right? It'll pay off. Discipline pays. I promise you it pays. It's horribly boring, right? Look at that. Now we've got an aggressive seller, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. It took this move up to wake up that VWAP seller, and we got everyone selling there again. Look at that. Let's see what they do. I'm a bit slow, so I'm going to just trade the micro until I get some consistency. Then I'll switch to the mini. And they're off. So you get that little burst of order flow come in off the open. See, right to the tick. Right. Once we clean out that seller, next area that will be sellers are 7.5. There's 7.5. Ah, close. 7.25. Okay. Remember, if you are unsure what this market's going to do, don't worry, because the market is unsure itself. Okay? After a long weekend, the market really doesn't know what's going on. Right? This is going to be a little price discovery after a long weekend. Let it do so. Step back, watch, and wait for when you do business shows itself. See if we can hold 63.06. Nope. As soon as I said it, dropped like a stone. So the aggressive seller at 7. The order flow is not predictable. If you have these candles mapped out the way I do, it's going to really help you anticipate where sellers are if you're going long. If we were long 3 or 4, we knew to sell some when we got close to 7. That's the selling I wanted to see. That's the selling I wanted to see. Thanks, Jeff. It's no news, AZS. It's a thin market. The news is that it is that's your news. Okay? It's a thin market. A large size order can move price quite drastically. You know how you guys always talk about liquidity? Retail traders? That's what that means. Okay? So if Anne-Marie comes in and drops, I don't know, 1,000 contract, 2,000 contract order, it's going to move price. Right? All she's got to do is show some size, and everybody will back away. The bids will scatter like roaches in a New York City apartment. When you turn those lights on, boom, they're gone. Right? You can watch the order book. Anytime somebody drops some size into the order book, it'll just poof, disappear. All the bids and offers just disappear. Right? Because electronic trading is a double-edged sword. Right? One thing about electronic trading, it makes the markets very precise. But the other edge of that sword is, in electronic trading, the bids and offers can disappear out of the order book so quick. right? They get those bids and offers because in the old days you had to call a broker called a trader, they'd call the guy on the floor, they'd pull the offer. Now it happens in what's less than milliseconds, right? No, I don't consider the slope of VWAP at all, actually. I tried doing that, Anne Marie. I like it when it's flat, it just tells me it's less volatile. I tried doing that whole slope thing because it seemed really interesting, but I got lazy and I never actually documented it. So maybe you might have some. That's my only problem with statistics, right? I don't mind stats and I think they're really cool to track things, but I always I lack follow through. It's a discipline thing again with me. So I'll start keeping stats for about a week and then I'll just forget. Because somebody was talking about that slope of VWAP, I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, and it looked really interesting, but I actually never did the work. So if anybody's done the work, please let us know. That would be really cool. The same with EMAs. I started with the EMAs and I never followed through. Right? I'm known for that. I'm really bad for that. It's probably the reason why, well, university was another story. It would have helped if I had actually gone to class. But, pretty much the same thing. Yeah, that's another thing. How flat is flat? I know Steve and Ray in the equity room, they do that thing with the 9 EMA, and it really works well for them. Yeah, these thin markets, Johnny, ever since you've been away, the markets got really thin because they really can't trust. How do I say this without being political? The markets have had a hard time trusting the administration. So I think they're just going to do what they want to do anyway, right? I think they're just going to ignore the saber rattling and just go to work. So I bought a little at 63.02 and I'm selling them at 4. Um, I'll be out here. Got one left at 4.5. I'm flat. And the reason I took that trade was it was a look below and fail of 1. So I bought 2, put my stop under 1, and that's the trade that's my go-to trade. Now I'm trading micros because I'm not feeling that smart after a long weekend, so just kind of getting the groove a little bit. I I think with the current administration, I think it would be very hard to be a portfolio manager these days and try and plan around the macro because the macro keeps changing. Yeah, I'm kind of foggy, right? Yeah, okay, you get it, Anne Marie. Yeah. I was long 63.02. I was out by 4.5, Aries. And welcome to the room. So that trade is a trade that everybody knows I take. It's when a market looks below and fails a level at the edge of a zone. So I'll buy a little bit, put my stop here, and then sell into strength. Welcome to the room. Right now we have a seller at VWAP. Hey, it's okay to be a macro trader, but he keeps changing the macro, right? It's like tariff, no tariff, maybe tariff, I'll postpone it. I think he just likes messing with people, you know? It's kind of like Dennis the Menace. I think he just likes messing with people. He probably gets a kick out of it, you know? Could you imagine those poor analysts that have to spend they're in the office for 100 hours a week and they sleep in the office working on their economic models. And then over the weekend, he goes and changes the macro and they have to remodel everything for their portfolio managers. Could you imagine? Those poor cats are probably pulling out their hair. I would not want to be an analyst right now. Oh my God. Previous high test, this is another thing AZS brings this up. It's really it's important that he's brought this up. This, if you're long on this look below and fail like I was, on the second time around, if we can get past 5, I think we'll be okay up to 6 and to 7. Right? So put a lookout offer at 5. And if your 5 offer gets taken, then you know that we'll be able to creep higher. Now, this is the kind of price action that gets people caught short because it looks weak. It looks really weak. But it just keeps creeping higher and higher and higher. And it's just price action you don't want to mess with. You know, it just takes you out to the cleaners if you're short. Because it's kind of stumbly, you know? It's stumbling around. Just watch the offer. That's really what's helpful. If you watch the offer, you don't get sucked in. It's like Thursday. It just decimated. It was like putting shorts in a meat grinder, right? It was just horrible. This thing, it looked like it was going to fall apart at any second, and then it would just grind 6 points higher, right? And then it just totally looks like it was going to fall apart, and then grind, 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 and people just fell for it. It's really hard because it messes with your head, you know. Shorting used to be fun. I remember when shorting was fun. You'd sell something and it would actually go down. You didn't have to wait 3 hours for the frickin' thing to go down, right? It's brutal now. There you go, Redbeard. They changed, they should have never, in 2005, they should have never messed with that regulation SHO. That's the axis of evil, in my opinion. As soon as they changed that, they changed the capital markets, the way they were structured, and the mechanics of them. And they basically, it was like taking short sellers and putting them in front of a firing squad. Looking to see if we can get over 5. Right? So these sellers are now here. See, they're just parked right there. So when you draw these lines, they help you in a couple of ways. One is if you were long and you know that there's going to be sellers at that area, you get out before, right? And if you're shorting, you can short and put your stop above where the sellers are. Because if those sellers disappear, then there's no reason for you to be in the trade. It would have been a nice short at 4 down to 1. Okay. Missed that one. It is a thin order book, my friends. I was thinking I didn't take the trade, but I was thinking, maybe build a little position here above VWAP and then sell it into the sixes. But once I saw it, it started hitting the 5. I didn't take that trade. I just thought I'd leave it alone. Now, when we get up to the 6301, I'm looking to see whether or not there's a seller here. See, there they are. As soon as we got up to 1, it tagged 1 and then the offer moved down. So it immediately tells you that sellers are competing. When sellers are competing and you're short, that's what you want, right? You want the market to go to a level, right, and not be able to get above it, right? And you'll see those sellers compete. And for you trend line folks, that's how you get that trend line, because the top of every candle doesn't break the trend line. That means that the offers are being lowered because the product's on sale. So if the sellers are still competing, the top of that candle won't take out 6301. If it does, then the market's trying to tell you that the sellers have seen buyers and are willing to take price higher to take advantage of it. See how it's kind of struggling? Next candle opens, and let's see if the top of that candle can take that one. Thanks, Anne-Marie. That's really appreciated. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. There we go. Right? That seller started to move higher, right? As soon as they do that, then we as short sellers, if you're short, uh-oh, we lost our backup, right? Jeez. Big candles. Really big candles here. Let's see if we can stay over VWAP. It's kind of a big rotation this morning, hey folks? Look at that. That's basically our rotation since the open. Yeah, see, Johnny, this software that these cats use is so sophisticated that in the old days, you'd have to have an offer, right? And then say if I had an offer for 100 contracts here and somebody took it immediately, then I know to put my other offers out. Now the software does it before you can even think about it. The software has executed the trades. It's fascinating how efficient trading has become because of algos and because of automation. It's just amazing. Now let's see if that seller is still there at 5. See, they're front running 5 just a little bit, right? We knew that they would be there. So say we were long at 2 or 1, sell a little bit at 5 and pay yourself, right? Especially if it's a rotational market, right? It really helps to know where there's going to be a seller. And nobody really thinks like that. The reason I think like that is because I was the seller and I had to compete with other sellers. Every time we took a company public, my clients weren't the only ones who had stock. They had partners. And as we know in business, partners always backdoor each other, which means sell stock when they're not supposed to be, right? So I had to know who the other sellers were. Always watch the sellers. There's '06. Now, folks, how many shorts do you think we have trapped underneath VWAP and underneath 4? We're going to find out real quick. Because if we take that A high, your next target will be 13 and a quarter. Nice work, Hank. I imagine you're going to be going to the hospital any time now. Get your trades in before you have to go. You're running to the maternity ward. Yeah, this quick long's paid. And then the market told us, right? It told us down here that something was up. You know? Just don't be trading at the hospital, okay, when your wife's giving birth. I think that might upset her a bit. Uh, you know you're addicted to trading when see it just kind of stopped, right? See how slow it is right now? This is like shootout at the OK Corral. The shorts are trapped. They don't want to show their hand. The longs are just gently selling, right? Let's see who blinks first. Hey, I'm not sure how do I pronounce your name. Nariz? Welcome. Welcome to the room. Yeah, I think that would be a bad trading decision. Trading in the maternity ward, Hank. Probably. Yeah. This is a kind of market where it kind of helps if you put a little position together, you know? Hey, Darad. Welcome to the stream. Good to have you with us. Hope you had a good weekend. Oh man, look how good this software is that runs these markets. It'll just stop selling there and lift the offer, right? Now, of course, if other offers come in and compete, it'll hit bids down. And we'll probably stop somewhere here at 5, and the offer will lift. If it's just a normal, see, look, it's fascinating. Look how the offer lifts. As soon as we get to that area, that was resistance, now it's support. Why? Because the position's underneath it. And it all happens before I can even speak about it. It's so quick and so efficient. I remember the first week I was working on the trade desk, one of the senior traders, and there was this big broker, and he used to trade for these guys in Florida. These guys would have like 15, 20 deals going simultaneously. And they sent their trader up from Miami, and he had 3 cell phones going and 3 traders of his own, and they took me off the desk to trade overflow because they had so much business. And he'd be go, okay, who's bidding? Oh, Knight, don't fill him. Who's offering? Do this, do that. And I'd be like, if somebody's bidding for 100,000 shares, why wouldn't you fill them? Now I know because they were short and they were trying to use that short to hold the market up, and that's exactly what happens when the software comes down to a place where there's a bid. Right? It just cuts off the sell and moves higher and makes the buyer chase price higher. It's beautiful. Would I add on retracements? No, Travis. I don't trade that kind of size. I don't consider myself a size trader. I trade for income. I'm very honest about that. I'm not a size trader. Like I'm not trading 100 contracts or 50 contracts. So I don't. I take the trade. As soon as the trade starts showing me profit, I start getting out of it. The only time I'll add is if I've trimmed and it gets over a level again, then I'll add again. But very rarely. Like say I was building a little position between 6 and 7, right? If the market went under 6, I'd cut a couple of contracts. If it came back up, I might add them again. But I never add more than my initial, right? And that's something that goes against everything I've been told and taught. Is I've always been taught to sell into strength because you never run out of product because you're always the supply guy, right? So in retail trading, I still have that mentality. Might not be the best mentality to have, but with my attention span and having to talk to people and answer questions and stuff, I don't think I have the focus to trade size and build positions. That's just me at this point in my life right now. That might change. But right now I don't. When I trade, I have to have like 110% focus. Otherwise, I make mistakes. That's one thing. Retail trading is something I can't do. I can't kind of do it, excuse the term, half-assed. I have to be really, really like tuned in. Otherwise, I will make stupid mistakes. That's just me. I don't know about anybody else. And the margin for error in retail trading is not high. We've just got such low margins for error in retail, right? Like if I'm on a trade desk, a couple of $1,000s here or there, it's not going to make a difference. A couple of $1,000s in a retail account, it makes a difference. You know what I mean? So take the position as soon as it's profitable. I put my orders out. If it takes my orders, beautiful. Right back to VWAP. See, Travis, how difficult it is kind of building positions in this market and adding to them? You really want to get rid of, like, if you had position down here, you wanted to get rid of it here before it comes right back, right? Now, I've got to say I'm starting to get short biased again. But we need to get down under 6,300. Can we do it? I tried to short 6,300, but I missed the fill. I didn't get a fill. I should have just hit the bid. I was offered and they didn't take me. Oh well, live and learn. Now we get to that 62.95 stop. Nice. Little short covering before the 62.95 stop. If you're long, you're looking for sellers at 1.5, just in this area here. I'll be surprised if we make it back to VWAP. Let's see. Can we get back above VWAP? See what happens in the next 1 minute candle. Here's that next candle. CAs, yes. Thanks for hanging out. It's it's still early in the week, so might be some better business a little later on. Yeah. Short 6,300 and a quarter. Ah, dang it. Looks like I'm going to scratch. Scratched. Now it's accepting over. No sense being short now. It's not doing what I want. This is an annoying market to short. Good grief. Now let's see if we get the seller that I was looking for. Yeah, it's exactly. It's really bid and low volume. Oh, it's choppy as heck. Now let's see. Yeah, that was a good thing I scratched that. Not worth the stress. Gonna have to wait and see what happens next. I'm like really short biased. Like it's screaming in my head. Sometimes if the bias is really, really strong, I'll just put down the mouse just for a second, just to see if I can get clear-headed. Because that's weird for me is to have this. It's like this, like, oh, it's gonna go down. It's got to go down. It has to go down. And when I start thinking like that, I stop trading because then I'm not thinking clearly. It's like a feeling. So it's best for me just to just kind of chill out. That works for me. And it took a while to get there, to become self-aware. And a lot of times with me when shorting, I always tend to be early, get stopped out, and then the trade works, especially in this market. So today, let's see if I'm early. How early was I, or was I just completely wrong? Hard to tell now. It's so choppy. So, folks, all the stuff I talk about is stuff that we teach in the room at the tradingsyndicate.org. If you like these videos, like and subscribe. And come check us out at the Trading Syndicate. Use that 25% off coupon. It's less than 50 cents a day. You try it for a month and see if you like it. And we'll help you pass those evaluations for, firms like our friends at Apex. It's a decent community. We help each other. We have large traders and small. So no matter what your level of skill is or what you want to achieve, we'll try and lend a hand. Back into the barcode, for the chart. Yeah, this is coffee time. And if you guys do sign up, just DM me when you're in the Discord if you need any help. Yeah, no kidding, Hank. Keep us, let us know, of course, when you can, when the baby comes. There's a little cost basis there, Moran. Definitely under 97. That poor low from the overnight session, we haven't even been able to get close to it. So, see, yesterday was the perfect day to cover. Not yesterday, good God. Friday. Friday was this day here, because we went into the gap on Friday, and they covered a good amount of volume down there. It would be very helpful if we ran the low. It would be very healthy. This market needs some prune juice. Like seriously. We need a couple of good liquidations and then the price action will be a lot better. Let's take it out. Come on, take out 95. Actually, I'd really like to run down and see what's lurking under 62.90. But it's just pussyfooting around. Look at it. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. We got a bit of a seller at 96. Come on, get aggressive. Sell them like you mean it. Come on. Has anybody seen the movie Hot Tub Time Machine? Waiting for this market to break a low is like the guy with the chainsaw in Hot Tub Time Machine, if anybody's seen that. That's what this market, waiting for this market to break a low is like waiting for the dude with the chainsaw in Hot Tub Time Machine. Seriously. It gets there and it stops. It gets there and it stops. Come on. Watch it, $6 million man. You'll have a good laugh. Especially if you were a child of the 80s. It's a good movie, Hank. You'll laugh your butt off. It's hilarious. Okay. See, look. So it's like, I'm going to go break the low. I dance away. I dance away. Look how annoying that is. Oh my God, if you were short right now, you'd just be like spitting fire right now. Brutal. It got spooked. Oh, there's this scene where this guy, he's supposed to be entertaining the crowd, and he keeps throwing this chainsaw up in the air. And every time he does, everybody's like hoping, it cuts off an arm or a leg, but it doesn't. And he slips, and the chainsaw still doesn't get him. And that's exactly what watching this thing is like this morning. It just will not break that 94, 93 area. Short 98 for 5 minutes. Oh, let's see. 5 minis? Okay, brother. Well, I'm hoping that seller, when we get up to 98, steps in and whacks it. Yeah. The ES of the 2020s, the most annoying market to short in the history of the world. It's brutal. Just brutal. Oh my gosh. And what I've noticed about this market, when you're looking for it to break a low or break a level, it doesn't do it like in the old days. Markets would open and they'd just sell. They'd sell, break the low, and come back up, right? Or that level that you were looking at. Now it just farts around for hours and hours and hours. And then finally, when you're not expecting it, right, you'll be waiting for that short, waiting for that short. You step away for like 5 minutes, and it will have like liquidated and bounced back. It's like, oh, thanks. Hey, everyone asks me, JJ, you don't like short selling? I'm like, yeah, I used to love short selling. If you guys remember AOL Instant Messenger, my screen name was Short Seller 666. This market's just not structured for selling. It's structured for asset markup and asset accumulation. That's the business model, right? The business model of US capital markets is asset accumulation. So why would you ever sell anything? Especially if it's paid for in cash. Oh, goodness gracious. So there are still bids in that gap. There are still bids in the gap. Yeah, well, back when I started out, there was such a thing as predatory market makers. They don't exist anymore. They're from a bygone era. They were kind of like predatory market makers in the old days were like guys who robbed stagecoaches, you know? They don't exist anymore either. You know, they'd see the order flow coming in, you know, and rob some money off the order flow. You know, that's how the business used to work. Because they didn't have the call from the retail brokerage firms, so they had to get in there and be a nuisance to make some money. They do now, and that's math. Jai John, it's all math now. It's just a different business. They're providing liquidity, and everything's done electronically and with algorithms. So it's a much more efficient business. So now market makers, instead of hiring traders, they're going to hire math prodigies and people who can like write beautiful code. Those are the new those if you can write code, and that's we have some people in our room who what did gosh we have a couple of guys. One of our guys, I think he just took a job in New York. He hasn't been in the room for a while. But yeah, we have our guys who code for execution algorithms and all kinds of stuff. That's if you're in that 0 and 1 mafia, those are the people who can really write their ticket these days. Hey Billy, what's up? I'm like a dinosaur from days gone by. Thanks, Billy. No, that was Mikey from Oregon. Uh, Phil is a 0 and 1 guy too, but I'm not sure what he does. Mike actually works for hedge funds. He's a pretty sharp dude. Half of the stuff he talks about, I have no idea what he's saying. Exactly, Judge. I was the wholesaler, and my market makers were like vendors. Exactly. And my market makers got the buy orders from retail brokerage firms. So if you went to buy 100,000 shares of a penny stock and You put your order in at Schwab or Webull or wherever. That order would get routed to Citadel. The Citadel market maker would call me, and I would sell them on the 100,000 shares 3 to 4 or 5 cents cheaper than what you were willing to pay for it. So they'd make, so on a 100,000 share order, right, they'd make $3,000 to $4,000 for a 10-second phone call for calling me. Because if the stock was $1, I'd sell it to them at 97, 96 cents. So they'd always call me first. I always got shown first bid. As a liquidator, you always want to be shown first bid. Because if your clients start seeing orders going off around their sell order and they're not getting a fill, ooh, that's not a fun phone call. See how it crept back up? Remember, what did I say 15, 20 minutes ago? I said, I doubt it's going to go back to VWAP. Right? I said it right here. Right? When it came down here, I said, I don't think it's going to get back to VWAP. Look at how it faked us out. Right back to VWAP. See? And that's how they get you. Good stuff, Joey. Sellers just, as soon as the sellers see some bids, right? As soon as the sellers see some bids, they start raising price. You know, it's like those, it's like those Rolex dealers, right? When you walk into these Rolex stores, I don't know. I always get a kick out of them because I'll go in and they'll say, "Oh, we don't have any watches for sale." Like, what? We don't have anything. Oh, these are all just display models. You can't. These aren't actual watches. Like, oh, okay. It's not like I'm gonna buy a $15,000-$20,000 watch anyway. Nuts. But I just enjoy that, so that people will pay more. Now, do you get a seller at VWAP? I remember we were at the Amsterdam airport. We walked into the store, and they're like, "Oh, hi, can I help you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just looking." They're like, "We don't have anything for sale." I'm like, "Okay. Well, why do you have a store if there's nothing for sale?" "Oh, we'll take your name and put you on a list." That's what the ES is like lately. Like they just keep jacking prices up on people. It's brutal. It's okay, Joey. You made money on the trade. It's another rotation here between, say, 96 and 63.02. Oh, my goodness. Well, folks, try and stay awake. Don't overtrade. We've got some good stuff coming at the Trading Syndicate. I'm working on a couple of new videos I'll have out this week. And once again, practical information you can use. It's landlocked, eh? I'm so curious what's going on under 62.90, but we're not down there yet. Have a wonderful morning, everyone. Trade safe. Remember, still early in the week. Hank, you go look after your wife. Remember to pick up coffee. Let us know when the baby comes. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you, Anne-Marie, for joining us. Really appreciate having you. As soon as my technical guy comes, we'll get you on the air with me. I don't know what happened to all my technical people, but we'll figure it out. Thanks, everyone. Trade safe out there. We will see you later on. I'll check back in an hour or two. I gotta go do my 10,000 steps before my girlfriend kills me. Thanks, folks. Bye for now.